We're joined now, shifting gears a little bit, joined now by the Daily Caller's Matt Lewis. Matt, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Want to ask you real quick, Matt, obviously big news in the 2012 arena. You've written a lot about this, Trump bowing out, Huck bowing out. Who does this benefit? Tell us, give us kind of your take on the state of play right now.
Well, I think that, it is interesting. Mike Huckabee and Donald Trump both had populist appeal, both very likable, kind of celebrity friendly, which isn't always the case with Republicans. At the end of the day, I think it probably benefits candidates like Sarah Palin, should she get in, Michelle Bachmann, and don't forget about Herman Cain, who I think won that first GOP debate. You have to imagine that there is room for someone like that, for a charismatic conservative who isn't Mitt Romney, to do well in places like Iowa.
But what about the money factor here? Obviously, yesterday we saw Mitt Romney rake in a huge sum out in Las Vegas. Obama was out raising money last night too. I mean, is there a fear factor about Obama and the money? And is Romney the only guy you think that can maybe raise as much to compete?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I think that that John Huntsman, should he get in, he would probably be a pretty good fundraiser too. I am concerned. I think that in a general election, Barack Obama could really run up the score and really raise a lot of money. And it's possible that Republicans would nominate a candidate who frankly couldn't compete. We saw that happen with John McCain. The truth is that I don't think the money issue is that big of a factor when it comes to winning a Republican primary. Because we don't have a national primary. You go from state to state, and we saw John McCain essentially survive, even though his campaign was teetering, and he ended up going to New Hampshire, winning New Hampshire. That kick-started the campaign. So I do think it's possible to be outspent and win the Republican primary, but you're right, it could pose a problem when you go into the general election.
Matt, let's talk Newt Gingrich, because this has just been I think a pretty bad couple of days for the debut of his campaign. Check out what Eric Cantor said in a radio interview in the last day or so. This is pretty startling. Many have said, now he's finished. I probably would reserve judgment on that. We know that the majority leader chooses his words very carefully. Nikki Haley, the governor of South Carolina, also very critical. How bad is this? How bad is the damage? What's your assessment, Matt, in these comments that Newt made about Paul Ryan's budget plan?
I've come to believe that it's really hard to ever write anybody out in this day and age because people can make a comeback. Gingrich is really trying hard. In fact, I'm about to get on a conference call after I leave you, where he's going to, I think, try to walk back some of his statements. But look, this is very, very damaging for him. I mean, he already had limited credentials, despite the fact that he helped lead the Republican Revolution and has done a lot of great things over the years. Conservatives were already a bit skeptical of him. He did that global warming ad with Nancy Pelosi. He endorsed liberal Republican Didi Scozzafava a couple years ago in a high-profile special election. So he was already kind of skating on thin ice, and now he comes out on Meet the Press and attacks Paul Ryan's budget. I'm sorry, Paul Ryan's the Medicare aspect of his budget, and I really think that was a bridge too far. There's immense pushback, and it will be interesting to see what Gingrich does. My guess is he will double down and come out and attack Barack Obama on something, and that's typically his MO whenever he runs into trouble.
Matt, I got to ask you to weigh in. Obviously, the big story of the day, Governor Schwarzenegger and his big news out there. I mean, is there a political bounce here? I mean, what does this mean for the former governor's activism, his involvement? I know he had a number of causes aside from his presumed Hollywood career, but what do you make of this, and what's next for him in your view?
I don't think this hurts him that much, and I'll tell you why. I think that scandals like this hurt people who have built their credibility on being moral, and I don't think that Arnold Schwarzenegger has ever pretended to be a paragon of virtue. So I don't think that this is any surprise, and thus I don't think it hurts him that much. Frankly, conservatives never liked him. I think this does show he was not just a lousy governor, but also a lousy husband. I mean, look, anybody can have anybody can have a bad night, but this guy kept the secret for a decade, it seems.
I know it. Matt Lewis, Daily Caller, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.